We go. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the April 2024 installment of the Microsoft Data Platform Continuity Virtual Group. With me today is Paresh Motawala. This is a topic near and dear to my heart. It's called How to Survive Your Next Pandemic, a technical and personal pathway. And the last 4 years have been really interesting for all of us. So I'm really interested to see what insights Paresh has for us. So with that, I will turn this over to you.
Cool. Hey, thanks. Hey, guys. I don't know how many people are there, but maybe 4 or 5. So I can count them on one hand. It's not bad. Oh no, there are a few more. Okay, cool. So, so hi guys. This is Paresh Motiwala. I'm like from Boston originally. Don't hold that against me. And since Patriots started performing badly, I moved to Houston, and then Houston started winning. So no complaints here at all, except for the heat and too much sun. So, but yeah, I've been associated with PASS and its chapters for now 14 years. I have spoken at little more than 300 conferences, events, user groups, etc. And it's my pleasure to be here with you guys. And one of the things that we did during COVID was to survive, right? Not many people really thrived, except if you were in some weird medical profession. Not many people thrived. So I made a lot of lessons. I took some from the web. One of my friends, Renu Gambhir, she also wrote a superb article in LinkedIn, which I have also shared here with you guys. But most of what I'm saying is a little bit of what I've picked up from the web, but a lot of it is my experience too. So today, what we will be doing is surviving the next pandemic. And the rumor has it that measles could very well be the next one. So are we ready yet? Right. So the problem is measles is contagious. COVID was infectious. So there's very subtle differences there, but that can be more dangerous. So let's go with this. So this is my contact information. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and say what great presentation Paresh had today, right? And if you don't like me, my name is Chris Lumna. And Principles of Circles of Growth. I am a speech and debate coach. I train a lot of children in the art and science of public speaking and debating and interviewing and so on. And I run the Boston BI user group still. And the Houston area SQL Server user group I just revived. And the worldwide DBA virtual user group that I run with Teo Surbi and Julie Bloomquist. So without much ado, let's go and start with this. So we'll try to kind of break it down into smaller chunks so that it's easier for us to. So, I mean, how do we stay informed? Right? That's one of the things that comes to my mind. How do we stay safe? Trust me, it is much easier said than done, staying safe. Do that, and we'll talk about how to handle your professional life and then how to handle your personal life. Okay. Staying sane, basically. The rate of suicides also went up very high. Then a lot of people died.
Oops. Can you hear us okay?
Yep, we lost his audio.
Uh-oh. Give him a moment here.
Yes, I'm back. Okay. And while you are safe, also try to keep others safe. That's very crucial for all of us. And amongst all of what we speak, I will also be speaking about me, not to eulogize myself or idolize myself, but really my experiences, what I have done. I'm sure some of you did already practice a lot of it, right? But let's try to see how we can have that thing touch our lives there, right? Cool. So, how many of you have seen this movie? Just show of hands is okay. Oh yeah. The whole movie is good, but the last 5 minutes is actually the exact way COVID happened. And it was almost like predicted 10 years ago. This is a 2011 movie, and the COVID thing came 2020 or something like that. I don't remember anymore. But yeah, do watch the movie. It's superbly done. Everyone is great. Um, but let's see what a pandemic is, right? Does anybody know what a pandemic is, or what is the difference between a pandemic, an endemic, and an epidemic? Subtle difference. So about 20 years ago, I took a class in Northeastern University about disaster recovery and business continuity. It was a 6-month certificate course. And they actually spent 2 whole weeks covering pandemics. And I'm like, what is a pandemic? Like, it's really going to happen ever, right? So it did. So we'll try to understand what pandemic is, right? Okay. And then we'll see, how do we go about, preparing for pandemics? Okay. And understanding the public health infrastructure, very crucial for us. For example, let's just start with this first, right? Okay. What's a pandemic? So pandemic is an outbreak of a disease at a global level. Okay. I can't declare it as a pandemic. The American president cannot declare it as a pandemic. It has to come from WHO. So if it comes from them and it's a pandemic, please be aware of it, right? And what happens when there is a pandemic, right? There is not much by way of options. If you go back like 100 years with the flu pandemic, people couldn't do anything about it except either die, or if you had a super duper immune system, you somehow managed to survive. It was a tough call. So preparedness for pandemics. What did you do to prepare yourself once it was declared as a pandemic? Anybody know that? Anybody care to remember that? I'll give you a classic example. Follow science, right? Whatever it is, I will not bring any political beliefs into picture here or religious beliefs. I'm just saying follow science. Take all the precautions that you need to, excluding stocking up 2,000 rolls of toilet tissues. That doesn't make any sense. Also, what I would like to see is keep some cash on hand at all times. Okay, so no matter how rich you are, no matter how much bank balance you have, keep some money in your hand or in a safe at home. Okay, there is a chance. What I do in Boston winters is to keep one suitcase ready in case we have to leave the town and go somewhere else with all the necessary requirements. Okay, then understand the public health infrastructure. We don't. So if you have your family doctor or your family member who is a doctor or a friend who is a doctor, seriously, get a top-down look at what the public health infrastructure is. A lot of people died because they did not understand that. Okay, so for example, my uncle, he passed away. He actually went into the hospital complaining of a heart attack, but before they took him in, they actually ran a COVID test. 3 days later, they found he had COVID, and 4 days later, he died. The only way they would give the dead body for cremation is if it was completely wrapped up and they could not even see the face of the person, right, of my uncle. And the only way they could dispose it off was to cremate it or burn it, wooden pile. Even at that time, they could not, make a small hole in the covering like a mummy base, like covering, and they couldn't do it. And so you should understand what is available for you, what is not available for you. and don't take any chances, nobody. If you take a chance and if you lose, who wins? Nobody, right? So take care of that. The other thing is understand where your nearby hospital is. A lot of people really don't know the difference between an emergency care unit, a big hospital with an emergency room in it, or just your doctor who will give you an advice over the phone. Uh, I can give you another classic example of my own wife. Okay, yes, no, nothing. She did not get COVID till after the COVID wave was gone, but she was suffering from sciatica pain. 3 doctors canceled her appointment, saying that since you're not dying, we can't see you. And even if you're dying, we can only see you through like an X amount of glass doors and so on. And so my wife had to complain that it was here, right here, that it was hurting her. And she had to live through that for the longest possible time. Luckily, my daughter and my son in law are doctors, and they actually drove her to the hospital and forced the technicians to take an MRI for her against the medical advice. And they found out what the problem was, and within 72 hours, she was perfectly fine. So, public health infrastructure knowledge is very crucial. We generally don't care about it because we are generally doing well in our life in terms of health. We are not spending 10 days in a year or 20 days in a year in a hospital, so we don't know about it, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. Vaccination and treatment or testing, right? Please, whenever a testing is available, the first thing you want to do is go get yourself tested. Okay, I'll give you a classic example again, my own example. When we came back from India, my wife was not feeling well. This is on 4th January. Okay, she was not feeling well. So we said, okay, what can we do? So we gave her some usual treatment. It didn't work. She was still not doing well. And we were supposed to go to my daughter, who was expecting a delivery literally any moment at the time. But we decided, no, we are going to test first. And if there is no COVID, then we will travel. That is a tough one, I'm telling you. We could not go and see my daughter for another 10 days. And lucky, all the three, I mean, me and my mother-in-law, who are also living here, right? We did not test positive for COVID, but till my wife and all the three of us tested negative, we did not go through things. So testing, very crucial. The USPS website, if you go there, they actually can send you free testing kits, or your insurance companies can actually reimburse you if you go to Walmart or Costco and pick up some testing kits. Go pick it up and keep it handy. Before COVID, trust me, my wife, in the 26 years that we spent in this country, we've never once had a flu. So we knew that whenever we have this kind of a breathing problem, it is COVID, right? And thankfully, it was diagnosed much later after the wave was gone. So till it became an endemic, right? So what is the endemic? So endemic is the phase 2 of a pandemic, in which endemic is restricted to certain areas. For example, it was fairly contained in almost all countries. So now it became a local problem, not a specific thing that affected the whole world anymore. So at that level, testing was faster, it was available, and so on. What else did we do for this? Yes, for Sequel Saturday in Boston. Okay, this is a fun story, and David, you might remember. I don't know if you had submitted for that, but for the Boston BI, we had a March 29, 2020 as the date for Boston BI Sequel Saturday. We had picked up approximately 27,000 worth of sponsorships. And we thought we will keep testing, instant testing on the door. If people test or get certificates, then we will let them in. But me and my colleague, we took a firm stand against that, and we said, nope, we will cancel the event because we don't know who is really testing earnestly. And if you do remember, one of the hot seats for COVID was in Boston. There was a massive, I don't remember what it was, but there was a massive conference in downtown Boston, and people very happily spread the sickness to everyone concerned. Question, comments, experiences that you would like to share? Maybe David can unmute. We are a close group of friends here, so if you feel like talking, just let us know. Otherwise, we can continue.
Yeah, no, the last in-person event that I personally did was the Sequel Saturday in St. Louis, which was at the beginning of February in 2020. And if it tells you anything, I'm still not back doing in-person events. There's a number of health challenges and some extended family, and I'm still camped out at home, and that's part of why, I'll turn on my video here. You can see this is slightly longer than my profile photo now.
So the last Sequel Saturday that I did, I don't know if Chris was there with me, but we did Rochester. And it was a fun event, as always. We drove, yeah, and on the way back, I flew actually. And as it turned out, very next day onwards, we were all locked in at home. The preparedness for pandemic, why I was telling you to have cash on hand. My company forced us a 25% pay cut for 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, I got canned, right? Because there is no business coming. So we have to let you go. And we are a healthcare company. So technically, if you do well, we do well. If you do worse, we do better. So healthcare companies were also laying off people or just using it as an excuse. I don't know. We understood the public health infrastructure extremely well. Why? Because I volunteered for the Indian Medical Association of New England area, where I was in touch with more than 2,000 doctors at any given point in time. And then, of course, in 2018, my daughter and my son-in-law both became doctors. So we really understood the situation and the system very well. Vaccination and the treatments that follow, right? We can go as political as we want, but Microsoft recommends that we actually don't do that in user group meetings. But please follow vaccination. This is my personal opinion. The first thing we did was to go at the Fenway Park, take the vaccine, shot one. 2 months later, we went and took another one in downtown Boston, and we felt safe, which is not bad because in 2021, we were traveling to Iceland and we had to actually email them the picture of our vaccination card. So sometimes you can be obstinate and say, that's not what my faith suggests. That's not what my politics suggests. But it can actually keep you stuck for absolutely unknown and unwanted reasons, right? So do get yourself vaccinated. You may not like vaccination, but the weird analogy I can give you is having an antivirus on your computer, right? You may think that you are always safe and that no matter how high-flying tech wizard you are, but a virus can bring your system down, right? So why do we install antivirus on our computer and why don't we have an antivirus in our body? Because remember, no matter who is your best friend, no matter how much you love your spouse or your children, the only thing that will be with you all the way till the very end is your body. If you don't take care of it, then you are in some serious trouble. Okay, so go ahead, get vaccinated appropriately. Again, I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings here, but treatment, oh man, that's a whole new discussion, but follow the doctor's advice. My dad, for example, he was a selective doctor listening patient. So 1 week he will take some medication and then say, the doctor doesn't know jack, and I'm not going to take this medicine anymore. Suddenly he'll fall sick, and then like, oh, what happened? You stopped there? Yeah, but I took it, I didn't take it, and so on. So people hate following treatment because that is basically following rules. And we have that inherent tendency to say, screw the rules. I don't want to do that, right? And that's the thing that brings us down big time. Um, I am kind of like that, but not to that bad an extent when it is a pandemic or an endemic. For example, if I have a very sore back or I have a headache, I sleep it out, but I almost never take a pain killing medicine. So, but these are two various situations of a very different degree, but just do better. I'm confessing here too. So then follow government policies, right? You may not agree with the government policies, but at least look at them, right? For example, government was offering, to a lot of people, the companies, the flexibility to work from home. For example, they were having that PPO or something like that. I don't remember what is the exact thing, a paycheck protection program or something like that, PPP. People did actually take a lot of advantage from that. That helped them go through the year without actually having to sell their homes. So do that. Government policies, they can be changing by the minute. It is your duty to keep on top of it. For example, there is the federal government, there's state government, and then there is governance in your town, right? My town said in the initial stages that even if you go out for a walk in the jungle, and my town is all jungle, Chris has passed my house several times, even if you're walking in the jungle, you have to put on the mask. And people would actually go in our town's Facebook group and post the pictures of somebody without a mask in the deep forest when they are not even 100 feet near each other, right? So follow the policies. It saves lives. Believe me or not, we may have our own beliefs, right? But the policies are usually taken by more level headed people than just one of us or two of us together, right? Cool. Like my son-in-law did not want to get a vaccination for our vacation that we're taking in Colorado. And we told him, we will not come if you don't take a vaccine. And he did eventually, and that's how we finished our Colorado break. Okay, safety. This one is back. Apps, for example. There are a lot of apps that help you trace where you have been, and if somebody else has been next to you or within that general area, they will actually tell you that there are some people, they will not give you the names, but there are some people who have been identified positive with whatever it is. So we started using that in Iceland. That really helped because wherever we went, not a single person had COVID. This is of 2021, July first week. Okay. So the bottom line was that to board the plane back from Iceland to Boston, we had to have a test done, and they would give you the results within 2 to 3 hours. We went there, got the results back in 2 hours. We were negative, and with that result, we could actually board the flight. And then they also said, can you also take a look at your own app and see what is the status there? And he helped me maneuver through that, and they said, see, you have really not been close to anybody who is using our application. So start using apps. For example, right now, I was like 2 weeks back, I was in Merida, Mexico. And I had not got that application, but my close friends had, and they were given 3 pings in a period of approximately 2 hours that this approximate area within Merida, Mexico has had too many cases of COVID positive people, so take care. Okay, so it really can save your life, right? And what I also spoke to you about keeping informed about the vaccination and treatment, do it. It can save your life, it can save the life of someone you love, or even somebody you hate, because then you'll have more time to hate them if they live, right? And so will you, because if you live, then you have plenty more time to hate or love somebody else. So be careful, follow the treatment. Again, follow government policy. Don't be your own politician. Okay? Cool. So this is the one that I would love for you to think, okay? Community and individual actions. I can give you an example. We started a non-profit in Boston called So We Care. Let me just type it here so you know. We started this charity, okay? We did not accept any donations except cloth for making masks. In the span of 6 months, with complete volunteer action, we were able to generate approximately 25,000 masks hand stitched, okay, with women coming over at my friend's house. She has like a massive house with sewing machines and so on, and they would churn in and day out masks. So my job was to collect the cloth. So people were told, please collect some cloth. This is the specification, and drop it outside Mr. Motiwala's home. Okay. And we would then wave them from our house. They are in their cars, and we would go pick it up, spray it with Lysol or whatever it is, bring it into the house, or maybe just put it back into the car, and then go to my friend's place where they were making these masks and so on. And 25, and then one of the things that my wife would do is to find hospitals and medical professionals who were not getting masks from their own hospitals. So we send like 100 to a hospital in Virginia, we send 200 to a hospital in Tennessee, and so on. Remember, at that time, the color of your skin or the color of your politics did not matter. We sent it to whoever asked for it. Soon we started getting a waiting list, and I think Charlie Baker was the governor at that time. He gave us one big citation and so on. We're very happy to what we did. Again, so as a community, we could do this. The second thing we did as a community was to prepare food and give it to people who are old and also COVID positive but could not cook. And believe me or not, they did not know how to operate Uber Eats or any other food delivering applications. So all they had is our town's Facebook group. They would post, hey guys, me and my wife, we are 85 years old. We are both identified with COVID. We can't even get up to do anything. Can somebody be kind enough and deliver this some food to us, right? And it is amazing that at a time like this, a whole community comes together. Again, we had the same thing. 5 or 6 people would cook, deposit it to one place, and that one person would go and deposit it on the porch of that other family, right? So that is the thing. As an individual action, what can you do? Contribute to the community itself as an individual. There isn't much you can do at the time, for example, but we did what we could. What did we do? For example, there's certain non-profit organizations that were serving other people and did not have money. So we had our own fundraisers. And don't laugh, but we had a collective singing program, and people paid $20 to attend our singing programs. And yes, I sang and I did well, But we collected that money and gave it to these nonprofits who are doing things with that money. I don't really care now, but they are all trusted organizations. So as an individual, this is how we contributed. But is this where it ends? No. So what we did was we followed personal hygiene, right? Take everything possible as a preventative measure to avoid the spread, or contacting it yourself because you don't know whom you are going to spare, right? Um, what is the single largest individual action we took? My wife and I ran a daycare at home. We shut down the daycare. Can you believe it? And we lost approximately $75,000 a year since then. And once that came up, we decided that, okay, it is still too risky. We will only handle one family. That's it. So we did, that was our contribution. So not helping people spread the joy. As it turns out, just on the brink of the COVID declaration, there was one kid who came to us with a foot and mouth disease. I don't know if you have heard of it. If you haven't heard of it, you are lucky, but we have, and it is not pretty. Okay. So if that kid would have come and stayed with other kids, we would have had problem. It is a highly infectious disease, right? So again, as an individual action, we told the parents, please don't bring him here, okay, and so on and so forth, right? Community support systems. A lot of people are committing suicides. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but this is that one time when Seattle was no longer the suicide capital of USA. There are many other towns that became suicide capitals, but reach out to friends. I almost never call friends for more than 2 or 3 a week max. But during that time, I would literally go down the list. If I see that person online on Facebook, I would go ahead and make a Facebook call to him, call everybody in India, call everybody in my other country like Jordan, where I mentored a lot of kids there. And just people like to talk because that personal interaction was gone. You want to take care of that yourself, right? Professional angle, right? I love this. I have a case of corona. And professional angle. This is a slightly long one, so please put up with me. This, if it is too boring, tell me. We'll kind of breeze through this as fast as possible. Okay. So number one, the professional side, take care of data privacy and security. Okay. Two ways, right? Within your organization where you're working, there's a chance you can get lazy and start exposing the data. Same thing with security, correct? Make sure that you work with your cybersecurity people or your CISO in the organization to ensure that appropriate data privacy and security patches or whatever they want you to do an application are in place, because now we are all working from home and we have to be very, very cognizant of that issue. Now, one more thing that you may not know, that almost 60 to 70% of large organizations released a software which actually records your keystrokes. And they are constantly monitoring your webcam. Even if you think it is off, they are actually monitoring. I don't know how, but they could actually tell whether you are working from home. Means, are you really working or you're just working from home, right? So again, that was, I just came to know about this literally 4 months back. 4 months back, that's like in November or December. I was asked to look after this particular database, which recorded every single keystrokes, the level of which the keying was done, at what speed and so on, would actually tell you that person is actually working or not, right? So data security and privacy, make sure that is in your professional interest that you take care of this. Technology accessibility. if you're working from home or you're working remotely, make sure that if you are the boss, that your team has enough resources, right, to be able to work remotely. For example, you would have seen how many schools failed miserably to have classes online for the first few weeks because this is something they had never done. And because the technology was not trained, nobody knew how to use it. They went along as it came along and so on. There's a huge hit on the learning experience. If that can happen to learning experience, imagine what it can do to your productivity at work. So always keep that in mind. If you are, say, for example, like what we did for the nonprofit organizations, make sure that a lot of this technology is available to people of different socioeconomic background as well, right? For example, there's one lady who's my neighbor here. What she did was she went around the entire community and picked up somebody's 5-year-old laptop, which may still be lying around, like my case, tablets, and so on. She made sure that it was all completely formatted. And then she took all of those and shipped them to African countries where people had no ways of staying at home and learning. But this really helped them a lot. So making technology accessible and available to the people is very crucial. System integration, right? I can say enough of that. I think maybe David can also chip in here, or even Chris. Like, the systems that you are working on, make sure that your management can easily integrate that with existing healthcare and government infrastructure. Uh, why is that important for us? Not as IT people, but if like we had to have a Zoom call with a doctor for my wife's sciatica, um, and my wife is not the techiest person on the planet, but she was able to go ahead and handle that because she had her own tablet and so on and so forth. So system integration from our side was fine, but the doctors were able to handle that too. So if you are working in a hospital or similar organizations where there is a personal interactivity, either through phone or through Zoom calls, make sure that your system can take enough bandwidth, basically. That's what it is, right? Any siloed applications that don't work with other applications unless you are within the organization's firewall, that should be avoided too. So system integration, very important. Then I gave you the example of the school system that had us fail miserably, right? Uh, Users had no time to adopt a system that was never tested, right? There's a lot of distrust, lot of child suicides or children suicides happening, right? So how do you make this happen? Uh, Communication. So if you are adopting something for the home, make sure that you have everything told to your family and so on. But when you are adopting a new system, it is within the organization's purview of activity to actually go ahead and make sure that the communication is clear. Okay. Hopefully, these solutions that you are asking them and you're communicating to them about are very easy to use and something that even a DBA can handle, for example, right? So let's work on that as well. Then scalability. My company's VPN crapped out because it was not scalable for almost 700 people working from home at the same time. So I don't know what is the technology behind that. Maybe Chris or David can possibly interject here, but we could not actually get everybody to log in
Oh yeah,
at the same time.
there's all kinds of stuff with that. A lot of times the remote access servers just wouldn't have enough horsepower to handle the concurrent traffic. Other times you didn't have that kind of internet connectivity and it would just get choked at a subset of your users. Other times you're coming in from everywhere and the interconnects couldn't handle it. There's all kinds of factors to it, but most places just were not ready for it.
I mean, that was really the sad part, right? And again, if you remember, I told you earlier that I attended 2-day class out of that entire disaster recovery and business continuity, which was dedicated to pandemic. And at that time, for us, it was a mere exercise in futility. When are we ever going to have a pandemic, right? Well, 15 years later, we did have one. And now we don't know when the next one will be there, right? Okay. So scalability and flexibility, extremely important for us, correct? Let's go to the next one. Nobody actually asked me, what is this one doing over here? Because I really don't know. I couldn't get rid of it. Sorry, guys. So misinformation management, correct? What do you mean by misinformation management, correct? This can go a little political, but let me be political for this. For example, one sect of the public was talking something, the other one was talking something else. And just because I said something, and a person of an opposite political belief would almost always say something which is diametrically opposite, that doesn't help. So managing misinformation, not only from the surrounding places, okay, but within your own organization, correct? You have to train or talk to your management to train you in identifying correct sources of information or the sources of information to which the company relies on. Okay. Educate everyone how to identify with that, correct? And like we did, and I don't know how, but our president actually listened to my idea during the town hall. And I said, you should be sending out a 1-minute video every day stating how the situation outside is, how we are doing within the company, and if there are any COVID cases within our team members, right, at the time. And as it turned out, please don't go yet, because as it turned out, one fine day, they said the office is now closed. So guess what? All my notepads, the places where you take your meeting notes, everything was left in the office. And a lot of the subsequent meetings I went to, they were all blind because I had nothing to refer myself to. I forgot a case of my water bottle, like this big water bottle, my portable speaker, which I use for meditation in the office, and then my medication, which I normally take after the lunch, that would be right on my desk. Almost 15 days worth of supply was gone because the shutdown was initiated on Tuesday, and I had just taken it to my office on Monday. So please make sure that misinformation management is the top priority there. As in any other part of our IT lives, misinformation is something that we have to handle at the very core itself. Otherwise, we are in some big trouble. Ethical considerations, right? I told you about a keystroke recording that we did in this company, right? There was no ethical consideration for this, right? Nobody told anybody that going forward, this is what we are going to be doing. Although the company already cut your hands off when they say whatever you are doing within the premises or within our VPN is constantly being monitored, right? That is something that you have to be very careful. So engage with the entire diverse set of your stakeholders within the company, within your team. If you're managing your team, talk to them, guys. I'm going to be keeping a much closer tab on what you guys are doing because now we are 100% working from home. Okay. Call in, suddenly one of the things that I used to do was ping my team member on Team. And if he consistently shows offline or away for a long time, during business hours, that's not fun. And you have to talk to them during their one-on-ones. So make sure that this happens to you, how you handle it, right? So if you're watching a movie or something like that, or watching a football game on another screen, keep your computer here. Just showing you how to cheat, but don't. technical support and maintenance. When this happened, and remember the VPN was not working, tech support was completely drowned. We had to sometimes wait hours to get a tech support person to be able to attend to our call. So what happened? Either my team started calling me directly, and I have no idea how that VPN works, or they would then call my manager who doesn't know how the VPN works, and so on. So if something like this happens, what is your plan to raise your tech support, almost scaling it up? Just like in the cloud, you can scale up your servers, scale out your servers. Can you do the same thing with your technical support? Talk to your bosses. How capable are we of doing that? If that is the case, if some projects can be put on the back burner, how many of us within the organization can actually step in as tech support people, right? So we talk to them and we go ahead and, you know what, sorry, let me try to rephrase this. So if we can step in till they are able to get a more permanent or a more solid tech support increase in staff and resources, that would be one good thing for us to have, right? Our maintenance. Do not give up your maintenance because now you are in a pandemic, right? On the contrary, during the pandemic, the workloads were low, and we found it eternally beneficial for ourselves to be able to stick to our routines of, production patches, month number 2, QA patches, month number 1, and then again month number 3, QA patches, month number 4, production patches, and so on. So we were able to do that in a big way. Here's the other one. I was talking to you about my friend. Please check her out, Madhu Gambhir. I will be able to share this link with you. I'll give this whole thing to you guys. Feel free to read it. How business intelligence as a breadwinner for a lot of us, right, has changed during the pandemic, right? This is a 7-point thing, right? And I would strongly encourage, go ahead and read it. It could actually change your life, or at least if your boss doesn't change his life, maybe you can become what your boss was. So take care of that. It'll really help you a lot. Staying sane. This I would love to have ourselves do as much as possible interactively. Mental health and well-being, right? If you have ever heard Tracy Bojana and her approach to mental health, and how if you have a problem, there is no shame in asking for help. Guys, you are not going to be the macho man if you have a mental health issue and don't bring it up to somebody else. I'm telling you, do it for people you work with, do it for people you love, do it for yourself. Take care of your mind, right? Because again, if you don't have your mind, I mean, there is no replacement there, right? You can't have a brain transplant, correct? So just watch out for that. Well-being. So the initial few months when the gym was closed, it was still like 32 degrees in Boston, but me and my wife would still go out for about 4 to 5 miles walk every day. We actually enrolled ourselves into a remote exercise and dietary consultant. And during the peak of the pandemic, I lost 30 pounds and my wife lost 20 pounds. So we were taking care of our mind. We binged on several shows that we would normally have never done that. We used to attend approximately 200 parties a year. That came down to 2 parties in 2020 or 2020, right? That gave us a lot of time to ourselves, and we were able to watch movies which we would otherwise not be able to do. The other thing that we did, we had actually never thrown away any paper since we moved into the house in Sharon, Massachusetts in 2003. So in this approximately 19 or 20 years, we had not scrapped any paper. We went to Costco, picked up an industry grade crosscut shredder, and we filled up approximately 6 large recycling bins that you get outside your house. And over a span of 6 months, we got rid of approximately 20 years worth of useless papers. So again, we took care of ourselves. So we found better ways of engaging ourselves other than just watching TV. Correct? I went ahead and got myself the Azure certification, for example. Uh, if there is a psychological issue and the impact is noticed, please address it instantly, right? The first one was take care of yourself so that it doesn't reach there. But if it does reach there, then you want to address it as quick as possible. There are a lot of friends who will most willingly listen to you. If not, find a friend who will listen to you, right? Talk to somebody. I can give you my number here, but because this is being recorded, I can't. But I know, for example, Joe knows my number, Chris knows my number. Find a friend you can talk to, it'll save your life, right? Resources and the strategies that you need for maintaining mental health, correct? What do, for example? I, because of the religious nature of my upbringing, we meditate 15 to 20 minutes every day. It helps me calm my nerves. It helps me stay positive throughout the day. I work with both. Again, I think Rick and we have touched bases on the DBA virtual user group as well. Chris and I know each other from Boston. So to Joe, you would never have seen me in a crappy mood. And the reason for that being that we always take care of our mind, stay sane. There is no shame in staying in touch. There's one which is a repetition. So please excuse me. I don't know how it missed this thing. But what I said was that if you stay in touch with your friends, not just because you have a problem or you need to be listened to, there is a chance somebody else needs to be listened to, but they are not bold enough to pick up the call or phone and make a call, right? So you want to watch out for such friends. Just go ahead, reach out to them, say, hi guys, how are you doing, etc., etc. Just wanted to say hello. So from those 200 parties that we used to attend a year in 2018 and 19, we came down to parties which was Zoom party hopping, right? So people would have parties at their home. We even had 2 drive-by weddings. And I'm not kidding you at all. So what they did was that they had pre-packaged food that was available on the table. You go, either you give them a gift or whatever, take a photo with each other, like 6 feet apart, right? And that was their wedding. And we attended 2 of such weddings. So, but we did stay in touch. Just to be able to see people was awesome. When we went out for a walk in the evening, me and my wife used to see more deers and other animals than people. And that can take a severe toll of your body and your mind. Okay. This one is my favorite, the next one, right? Is develop a hobby and follow it. I undertook classical singing. I trained through a guru of mine in Boston. I then continued for several years after that. But my hobby was music. I did that. My hobby was photography. Oh, well, there is nobody there to spoil the background that you're trying to capture. Take your camera out with you or use just your iPhone or any smartphone. Take good pictures, work on them, I think. But the most important thing that I totally rediscovered was cooking. So there are times when I would tell my wife, now you go and watch the movie or do whatever you want to do. I will cook today, I will cook tomorrow, I'll cook in the morning, whatever it is, right? But develop a hobby. And I can tell you now, for the next pandemic, at least have 2 hobbies. Start working on those hobbies now. For example, anybody knows Ray Kim from Albany? He's a pianist and he played his heart out on piano. By the way, Albany is equal Saturday, August 3. Cool. So the impact that we can have is the economic impact. Some people lose their jobs like I did. remember the first thing I told you was keep some cash on hand all the time, right? And what is your recovery strategy for that, correct? So talk to a financial consultant. Usually every company that you work for, they have a financial consultant in-house. Yes, the company pays for them, but they work for you when you engage them and they are free. Talk to them. For example, in anticipation of a worsening economy, what we did was I asked my financial advisor and he suggested do this. So he had us invest money in some ladder scheme, which means that $10,000 are recoverable after 6 months, 20,000 after 1 year. So in case we run out of cash, we didn't have to break FD or a long-term deposit, but we could actually then go ahead and not renew that 6-month deposit, for example. So again, this came because we got the recovery part of it through financial consultant. Also, we had them advise us on the life insurance as to what to do with the life insurance, right? Because the life is so fragile, right? I'm at a point where now nobody will give me life insurance, correct? But if you are young, make sure that you have your living will done. Please do not ignore this. I cannot rephrase this. If you are not taking anything with yourself today from this presentation, take this thing. First thing you want to work on is a living will and a reverse healthcare proxy with your spouse or your significant other or whatever it is. Two things you always want to work on. And like me and my wife have a reverse healthcare proxy. We have a living will. Either way, in case something happens to us, our children should not be left in the lurch. Okay, so supporting businesses and workers during and after the pandemic. Like for example, we chose not to go through people who are delivering food because that's a company that doesn't really work in my town, but that's a big brand name that is operating somewhere that we don't know. We would instead go to the shop directly to pick up food ourselves. And you may come across friends, right? Promote locally. So if you're buying something like a grocery, go to a local shop. I know it sounds a little more expensive. For example, milk in my next door HEB is like a Shaw's equivalent here is about $4.99 and in Costco it is $3.49. So why would I then go to this place? But sometimes it is better that you support local business people. They are in your community. They will make or break your life and success as it goes along, right? So no matter what happens, do not go back to 2020. And if you have to, just take some of the lessons we learned today, right? Just reflect on what we spoke. Feel free to say, Paresh, yeah, I don't agree with you on this. I agree with you on that, etc., etc. Love to do that. Preparing for future challenges, develop a hobby, make sure that you have enough cash on hand all the time. You never know when you have to go, where you have to go, etc. Make a living will and a reverse healthcare proxy, correct? Finally, 4 stages of quarantine, right? I reached this stage in pretty much like 1 week. So beware you don't end up like that. And my contact information again, in case you guys want to reach out to me, say hello. This is a good way to do it. I think we have 1 more minute to go. If anybody raises a question, point, comment, bouquets, brickbats, now is a good time. Otherwise, I'll stop the share.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions or thoughts or commentary? Because it's still it's still a topic out there, contrary to a lot of what people think. It's very interesting.
Hey, thanks, bud. So yeah, I mean, definitely, guys, if you want to stop the recording, then that's fair too. But yeah, I would love to hear back from you. Talk about it on Joe. You can talk to me on Facebook about that too, and otherwise Twitter. I don't give my emails any longer, but yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn is a super way to get in touch with me. If there's anything else, otherwise I can let you go back to your lives. And Chris, if you can just hang out for a minute, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I had a quick question for you, my friend.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for
Cool.
attending. If you're watching this after the fact, we really appreciate it. Paresh's contact info is on the screen. And yeah, if anybody needs to chat, even if it's non-technical, let any of us know.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks. Cheers, guys, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.